I want to ask you this, though. And I know this already because we've talked about it. You shared with me and my wife the beautiful changes that you were seeing in Jeremy. But I don't want that coming from me. I want to hear from you. Can you tell the people that are listening tonight, thousands of people are listening to you, and hundreds of thousands will actually watch this, if not over 1 million people will watch this particular broadcast here that we're doing tonight. Can you share with the listeners there what happened from the time you started? You don't have to detail the entire time. What change did you notice up until the time that you stopped the protocol because of this onslaught of pressure from your ex-husband? And was there any changes after you stopped? Can you share that with us?
So when we started the protocol, Jeremy was screaming hourly. He was having 3 or 4 seizures a month. He was biting his arms, and he had a lot of open wounds on his arms and on his hands. Within about 3 months, that's when we had our last seizure. So it was October of 2018. That's the last time Jeremy had a seizure. And when Jeremy has a seizure, they're grand mal seizures. They're clonic tonic, and they are very dangerous for him. The screaming, he got much calmer. The screaming, which he does still do, but it's like once or twice a day for a couple of minutes, instead of every hour for 15 to 20 minutes. So that really went down. His arms completely healed, except for these calluses from the buildup of scar tissue from all the biting, but there weren't any open lesions, there weren't any open wounds, all of that completely healed. Then he started to talk. He has started saying mom, which I haven't heard him say since he was 3 years old. And he started saying mom. And sometimes he'd say no, which I found interesting because when he was talking when he was 3, that was also his first word was no. But he still is saying mom. And he started making promises and asking permission. And what I mean by that is usually when Jeremy would start screaming, we would just kind of signal to him, go up to your room, because that's a safe place for him. He can calm down there. It's a comfortable place for him. And it kind of keeps everything from escalating with everyone else in the house, our nerves and tension or anxiety. It just kind of, gets Jeremy in a safe place, and it keeps all of us in a safe place. And after about 4 or 5 months of being on the protocol, Jeremy was doing, and this is something that was also misrepresented in an article, because I had asked a question in one of Carrie's groups about gasping. And let me explain. The gasping is not a gasping for air. It's a like he's agitated. And he's been doing this for 10 years. He was not doing it because of the CD protocol, that's in one article, and I know it's about me. It says a Kansas mom and her adult autistic son asked about gasping. He's been doing this for 10 years. It's not gasping for air, but it's called air hunger, and it's associated with Lyme disease. And according to Dr. Klinghardt studies, 90 to 100% of all ASD individuals have Lyme. I'd like to know why. That's really interesting to me. So anyway, back to the making promises thing. Jeremy started doing his gasping thing like he's going to blow, right? So I said, go on up to your room. He got halfway up the stairs, and on the landing, he turned around and he looked at me. And I noticed he had stopped at a peripheral vision, and I looked up at him, and he went like this. And I said, are you going to be good? Are you going to be quiet? And he went, please. He signs, okay? He's signed, please. And he went like this, like, I'll be good. And I said, well, you can come back down if you want to stay down here, but you have to be good. And he came back down. He calmed himself right down. And he remained for hours just fine. And to me, that is asking permission and making promises. And he has done things like that several times. He's also started laughing at things on the TV when music is playing. Like his older brother Daniel was here watching him, and he was watching Footloose, and he looked over and Jeremy's tapping his knee. Jeremy's never done anything like that before. My mom was here like 2 weeks ago, and we were all giving her a hug when she was leaving goodbye, and Jeremy looked up at her and started to come up, and then I'm like, do you want a hug from Grandma? And he stood up and he hugged her goodbye. He has never done that before to anybody, ever. But
wow.
He wanted to hug his grandma goodbye. So there's a lot of things like this that we've experienced with the improvement. Now, in June, I stopped for several reasons, because Brandy reached out to me for my statement, which I already knew about her and what she's all about, and I knew anything I would say would be twisted. I didn't trust her, and I gave her a statement, you're a shameful tool with the incorrect information by an absentee father, blah, blah, blah. And that's all I was going to give her. And
we'll go there in just a moment. Laura, I want to say this, though. There are people that listen to Israeli News Live that are in a very similar circumstance as yourself, as far as children that have autism, grandparents that have grandchildren that have autism. I know because they've written us. We're very much familiar with many, many cases that are out there like this. And as they hear what you have just described, that not only would parents give anything in the world to be able to see that type of change in their children after watching what they've suffered for so many years now, they'd give anything to see that. Not to mention genuine doctors that do studies, scientists that do studies, that if they took a product like this and did a study with it, because there's more and more testimonies coming out like yourself, where people are seeing a positive difference. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I can't say that it is as a result of this particular product, but there are doctors out there that can and should do case studies on something like this that has had such marvelous success. But of course, our concern has always been, in every interview we've ever done, is that Big Pharma likes to stand in the way of something that could be so simple and so affordable, and use alternative drugs and therapies that they can patent, that they can make billions of dollars off of instead. And not to mention that no one wants to dare challenge the vaccine community of what damages it could possibly be done by their products to begin with. No one's going to even address that. But that being said, I want to look at another issue as well. You mentioned that the person that wrote the article reached out to you from NBC News, and you shared with us here on Israeli News Live, you shared with us there had been an article written about this particular journalist, and I'm going to pull it up. I've got two of them up here. One, this is from Health Impact News. This is called Parents Seeking Non-Medical Help for Autism Online Being Reported to CPS to Have Children Medically Kidnapped. Can you tell us a little bit about this? July 7th, 2019, this article came out. Can you tell us a little bit about this, Laurel?
It was before July 7th. That must be an
update probably then to the article.
The end of May when I think I shared that. But yeah, she has informants, two women who you have their names there in the article, who go in disguise to private, secret Facebook groups like Carrie Rivera's groups, posing as parents of autistic children, and they take screenshots of things that the parents say, and they go to their profiles and they research them, and then they call their state, the Child Protective Services, to have the child medically kidnapped, which is really exactly what Brad and this Brandy Zadrozny are trying to do to me. because he had gone to, he had called Adult Protective Services after this thing with Joshua and was pressuring them. I will say this, that since that NBC article came out, I've had hate mail, I've had to take down my photography business, basically, the websites, and I've received death threats and bad ratings and all kinds of things just based on this article. And it's, it's been really hard on my family because, we're making a great sacrifice to take care and take really good care of these boys, and we love them and we're happy to do it. But, to then have salt poured in the wound, where now I can't even work at all outside the home, not even in the evening when my husband's here, because I have to close my websites down. Yeah, I'm suffering a lot of financial loss because of, Brad going to a national news reporter that does hit pieces, trying to get kids taken away from their parents. And now he's going to the local Kansas City stations, and then they've been calling me wanting an interview. And, I'm still not 100% sure that they won't splice and dice and edit it to say what they want to say. So I really appreciate you and Yana just giving me an opportunity to tell my story and my side without it being all cut up and, reformatted to say something different.
We certainly understand, and that was our objective as well, was to be able to give you that platform to speak and to share those things from your perspective, because we don't believe in just editing out information. When people have something that's going on in the news, we like to share an unbiased approach.